Hare Krishna. Yes, I'm recording very well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, Krishna.
Why Krishna Vani is not there, Prabhuji. She texted me to confirm that she'll be reading to Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, verse 10.22. Vedanam samavedosmi devanam asmi vasavaha indrayanam manaschashmi bhutanam asmi chetana.
Hare Krishna. Of the Vedas, I am the son of Veda. Of the demigod, I am Indra, the king of the heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in living beings, I am the living force consciousness.
10:23. Rudranam sankarashchashmi vittesho yaksharakshasham vasunam pavakaschashmi meru shikharanim aham.
Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of wealth, Kubera. Of Basus, I am fire, Agni. And the mountains, I am Meru.
10:24. Purudasham cha mukhyam nam viddhi partha brihaspatim senaninam aham skanda sarasam asmi sagaraha.
Of priest, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief Birashpati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya. And of the bodies of water, I am the ocean.
10:25. Maharshinam bhrigur aham kiram asmi ekam aksharam yajnanam japa yajnosmi stavaranam himalayah.
Of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of vibration, I am transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names Japa. And immovable things, I am the Himalayas.
10:26. Ashvatta sarva vrikshanam devarshinam cha naradaha gandharvanam chitraratha siddhanam kapilo munihi.
Of all the trees, I am the banyan tree. And of the sages, among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha. And among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila.
10:27. Ucche shravasham ashvanam vidhi mam amruto bhavam airavatam gajendranam naranam cha naradhipam.
Of horses, know me to be Aichusrava, produced during the churning of ocean nectar. Of lordly elephants, I am Airavata. And among men, I am the monarch.
10:28. Ayudhanam aham vajram dhenunam asmi kamaduk prajanaschasmi kandarpa sarpanam asmi vasukihi.
Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the Surabhi. Of causes of procreation, I am Kandarpa. Of god of love. And of serpents, I am Vasuki.
10:29. Anantaschasmi naganam varuno yadasam aham pitranam aryamachasmi yamaha samyamatam aham.
Of the many hooded Nagas, I am Ananta, and among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama, and among the dispersers of law, I am Yama, the lord of death.
10:30. Prahladaschasmi daityanam kalaha kalayatamaham mriganam cha mrigrendroham vainatyayascha pakshinam.
Among the Daita demons, I am the devotee Prahlada. Among subduers, I am the time. Among beasts, I am the lion. And among birds, I am Garuda.
10:31. Pavana pavatam asmi Rama shastra bhritam aham Jashanam makaraschasmi
Shrotasam asmi Janavi.
Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapon, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark. And flowing rivers, I am the Ganges.
1032. Sarganam adirantascha madhyam chaivaham arjuna adhyatma vidya vidyanam vada pravadatam aham.
Of all creations, I am the beginning and end, and also middle. O Arjuna, of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth.
1033. Aksharanam akarosmi dvandva samashikasya cha aham eva kshaya kalo dhataham vishvato mukaha.
Of letters, I am the letter A. Among compound words, I am the dual compound, and I am also in inexhaustible time. Of creators, I am Brahma.
1034. Mrityu sarva haraschaham udbhavascha bhavishyatam kirtihi shrirvak vakcha narinam smritir meda driti kshama.
I am all devouring death, and I am generating principles of all that is yet to be among women. I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience.
1035. Brihat sama tatha samnam gayatri chandasam aham mashanam margo shirshoham rutunam kusumakara.
Of the hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of the poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashirha, November, December, and of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring.
1036. Dhyutam chalayatam yatam asmi tejas tejasvinamaham jayosmi vyavasayosmi sattvam sattvavatamaham.
I am also the gambling of chiefs, and of the splendid, I am the splendor. I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong.
1037. Vrishninam vasudevosmi pandavanam dhananjaya muninam api aham vyasa kavinam ushana kavi.
Of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudev, and of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vasha, and among the great thinkers, I am Ushana.
1038. Dandodamayatam asmi nitir asmi jigisatam maunam chaivashmi guhyanam jnanam jnanavatam aham.
Among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment, and of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I am silence, and of the wise, I am wisdom.
1039. Yacchapi sarvabhutanam bijam tad aham arjuna na tad asti vinayatsyan maya bhutam characharam.
Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being, moving and non-moving, that can exist without me.
1040. Nantosti mama devyanam vibhutinam parantapa esha tuddeshata prokto vibhuter vistaro maya.
Almighty, I am conqueror of enemies. There is no end to my divine manifestation. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences.
1041. Yad yad vibhuti matsattvam Srimad urjitam eva va tat tat eva vagachatvam mama tejom sasvambhavam.
Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor.
1042. Athava bahunaitena kim gyane tavarjuna vistabhyayam idam krishtam ekam shena stito jagat.
But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Shu Upanishatshu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Vibhuti Yoga Nama Dashamo Adhyaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Madhukumari Mataji and Palika Mataji. Very, very nicely recited. I knew I can rely on Madhukumari Mataji last minute. Thank you so much. Krishnavani Mataji, I can see you online now. Sorry, we waited for you a little bit, but then we thought you were caught up somewhere else. So maybe you can speak to Santosh Mataji later and swap with somebody else. Thank you so much.
Yes, sorry, Prabhu. In the computer put me down.
Okay, yeah, that happens sometimes. Sorry, but no problem at all. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, devotees. So as we've been doing last couple of days, we will be now studying from the Krishna book. I'll just share my PowerPoint so that you can all see the screen. Everybody? All right, let me just share this. So we're going to continue. So before we start, we will just do the invocation mantra and also the Mangalacharan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swakadatikam. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Charu Swami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Ashyata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we'll start off from the next paragraph after the one that Vrindavan Chandra did yesterday. Would anybody like to read this paragraph, please?
Can I read it? Oh.
Okay. So I've got Yashwini Mataji has raised her hand. So maybe we'll let her read. Thank you, Yashwini Mataji. Sorry about I think 2 or 3 others also I heard. So Shabani Mataji at least, and maybe Prabhuda Mataji. So we can take turns. We'll do, I think, hopefully 3 paragraphs today. So you can continue, Yashwini Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Hare Krishna. This body is exactly like one of the bodies which we always see in dreams. During our dream of sleep, we create so many bodies according to mental creation. We have seen gold, and we have also seen a mountain. So in a dream, we can see a golden mountain by combining the two ideas. Sometimes in dreams, we see that we have a body which is flying in the sky, and at that time, we completely forget our present body. Similarly, these bodies are changing. When you have one body, you forget the past body. During a dream, we may make contact with so many new kinds of bodies, but when we are awake, we forget them all. And actually, these material bodies are the creations of our mental activities. But at the present moment, we do not recollect our past bodies.
Thank you so much. Now, yeah, so who's speaking this?
Vasudev.
Vasudev, exactly. Vasudev is speaking. And who is he addressing?
Kamsa.
Kamsa. Yes, thank you. So yeah, sometimes when we're reading long parts of any book, even Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam especially, I find myself actually when I'm reading a chapter of Bhagavatam, sometimes I get notice coming from somewhere. Okay. Sometimes you get lost after a while. You think, where am I? Who's saying this? And who is saying what? Because sometimes the purports are so long, and you're getting engrossed in the purport, but you forget the plot. So it's always good to just double check and remember where we are in the story. So yes, Kamsa is speaking this. So he's giving amazing philosophical points to Kamsa. Vasudeva is speaking this. Sorry, did I say Kamsa?
Yes.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Vasudeva is speaking this to Kamsa, and Vasudeva is giving some amazing philosophical points. You can imagine, see, this is it. The point, devotees, is that if we are all really familiar with the philosophy, as Vasudeva is, then in a difficult time, we can actually dig into our knowledge and use our knowledge to get out of that situation. You can see Vasudeva got out of the situation purely because of his philosophical knowledge. He was able to convince. So similarly, that's why it's so important to study and understand and to be able to quote certain things from our knowledge so we can diffuse some situations. So here, Kamsa is giving an analogy about a dream. So he's basically saying to Kamsa, don't take this life so seriously because, it is just like a dream. We are all here just for a temporary time, and then the soul just moves on to his journey. So think about it. Don't commit such a bad sin in this lifetime. Otherwise, you're going to suffer. But this is why he's reminding that, you are a spirit soul. You're not this body. So anything related to this body, you shouldn't take so seriously. Even if you're going to die, he'll say later on here. So we all have to die anyway, but like that. So somehow he's able to use his depth of knowledge to speak this philosophy. He's talking about state of awake. So we have two states: awake state, where gross body and the subtle body both are active, and then we have the sleeping stage, where when we are fast asleep, the gross body is inactive, but the subtle body is still active when we are dreaming. Because the dreaming is a part of the subtle body. So our subtle body actually is a storehouse of all the impressions that we have collected, not from just this lifetime, but also from millions of other lifetimes. And this is what dreams are made of. So many times, I myself have some experience, and I will wake up and I'll say to my wife, I had this weird dream like this, and I can't imagine where those thoughts came into my head because I've not experienced anything like that in this world, nor have I maybe watched a movie or something where this thing came out, nor have I heard any stories where this thing could have triggered it. So where did it come from? So of course, those things come from your past lives. You've forgotten, but these impressions are still there. And this is why these dreams happen. And of course, dreams are always very confused because the dreams are never straightforward. They're always mixing things up. Like example here, Vasudev is giving that we all have seen a mountain and we've all seen a gold brick. And then in our mind, the dream confuses the two and you start seeing a golden mountain. So like that. So this is explaining how dreams work. So before we move on, anybody any points, anything to share on this paragraph?
I just want to mention that because I heard this from Bhakti Charu Maharaj long time ago. One of the devotee passed away and was very elevated devotee, and on that time Maharaj was saying she was very pious and she's not going to come back. And also on that subject he said subtle body is so powerful, that's what in this life we need to dispose our subtle body through the devotional service, chanting, doing deity service. So if we dispose our subtle body, we will not come back again in this material life. So that's what all the devotional service is, to dispose our subtle body. Because material body, of course, it will die eventually. But subtle body, to get rid of subtle body, it's very difficult. That's why we need to engage ourselves all the time to devotional service, chanting. So he was, it stuck in my mind, never heard this from anybody before. And that was many years ago. And it, of the memory of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, that is stayed in my mind very, very strongly. So I'm very grateful to Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Palika Mataji. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, in a lot of his lectures, he would quite often remind us of this, the fact that the gross body that we are so enamored with at the moment, we're doing everything for our gross body and completely ignoring our soul. But then in between the soul and the gross body, there is a subtle body, which is going to carry us. The subtle body carries the soul to our next destination. So as Palika Mataji quite rightly says, that subtle body remains all the time with us. And as long as we have that subtle body, but because that subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego, all these three elements are material. So as long as our subtle body is stuck with those elements, we will remain in the material world, in the cycle of birth and death. So we need to, as Mataji mentioned, you need to dissolve that subtle body. How does that subtle body dissolve? So Maharaj explains, Bhakti Charu Maharaj explains sometimes in two ways. One is that yes, by performing devotional service and by perfecting our devotional service, our subtle body gets dissolved. And then the pure soul just finds its swarupa in the spiritual world with Krishna. The other way is that the subtle body actually, it becomes spiritualized. Rather than dissolved, it becomes spiritualized. Again, similarly, just by our devotional service, chanting, and being very sincere, our mind, intelligence, and false ego. So false ego turns into true ego, which exists in the spiritual world. True ego means understanding our true position as a servitor of Lord Krishna and serving him all the time. The mind becomes spiritualized, and the intelligence becomes spiritualized. And this way, we no more have the chains of the material world around us. So this is quite important to remember.
Thank you.
Anything else, anybody, before we move on?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Growing up, we had this beliefs that if you dream about, say, for instance, birth, it means somebody gonna die.
Okay.
And this kind of belief had gone on for many years, and that has actually put a different meaning to it, which is brilliant, really. That's a lovely way to see it anyway. But I remember, if you dream about wedding, it was not a nice thing gonna happen. That kind of thing we were told. I don't know. What do you think? I think it's quite traditional, isn't it?
It is. I think it is traditional. I haven't read that in any of the stars, and I must admit, of course, I haven't read so much. But whatever I have read so far, this has not been mentioned. But I do know that actually there are people out there who make this their passion and their expertise. They are able to read dreams. They're able to read and connect. And there is some science to it. I must admit, I'm not saying it's all humbug. There is some science to it. That these people are able to connect certain kind of dreams with certain kind of eventualities. So yeah, there is something like that. But we don't have so much information about it. It's quite a vague science. So,
and psychologically, there is this belief as well that if you go to bed disturbed,
yes.
you get not so nice dreams, and it's not a good omen. Well, I'm just
no, absolutely.
thinking, yeah.
So that is quite true, because then see when you have this is why they say that you should never go to sleep on an argument.
Yeah.
You always sort it out, because when you go to sleep like that, then your mind is disturbed. As it is, our mind is so disturbed with so many different things. And then on top of that, you're going to have something else playing on it, and you're not going to have a good sleep. You're going to probably have bad dreams and all that. Yes, so that certainly doesn't help. One must go to sleep in a very peaceful way. Many people actually chant a round of Maha Mantra before they go to sleep. Some people will read a few pages of the Shastra before they go to sleep. These are the ways to calm down the mind before we go to sleep. We have a habit of turning on Prabhupada's classes, so we always listen to Prabhupada's classes, and the classes are going on all night. They just remain on. Even in the middle of the night, I wake up, I can hear Prabhupada speaking, and I fall back asleep again. When I wake up in the morning, he's still speaking. So like this, you can have that, so that helps you have a nice sleep.
Haribol, Haribol. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So next, we just connected to this is something else that Bhakti Charu Maharaj speaks about quite often. It is the 3 stages of material existence. Anybody would know what these are? 3 stages of our existence?
Jagrit, Sapnam, Sushupti.
Very nice, Rupa Mataji. We got some amazing exalted devotees on this group.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you so much. So yes, so awakened, which means Jagrit, dreaming, which means Swapna, and then dreamless sleep, which is Sushupti. So out of this, the best sleep is Sushupti. Because when you're awakened, of course, like I mentioned before, when you're awake, your gross body and subtle body both are working. When you're dreaming, at least your gross body is getting rest, whilst the subtle body is playing havoc with us. But then that very, very deep sleep, which is called dreamless sleep, that is Sushupti. And that in that state, even the subtle body is inactive. So you can imagine your body is getting 100% rest. So even in the Western science, they actually measure your sleep like this, and they can see, on average, everyone would have a certain amount of sleep during the night, which will be Sushupti, where we have deep sleep. Some people whose minds are sort of naturally agitated, who are very much in the mode of passion, they will have a very little amount of this sleep. But people who are very satisfied, very peaceful, they will have a lot of amount of this sleep. But still, the sleep every night is mixed up with all these 3. And it depends on what kind of a day we've had, what we have on our minds and everything. But the best kind of sleep is Sushupti. And because the subtle body and the gross body are both inactive, this is almost the state of the soul being back in the spiritual world. Can you imagine? So at the Sushupti stage, Bhakti Charu Maharaj used to explain that we are very close to the spiritual world at that time. Because, being close to the spiritual world doesn't mean physically traveling anyway. As we all know, it's the state of consciousness. So when our consciousness is in such a state that we are not even connected with the subtle body, then we are very, very close to our to our spiritual world. And when one actually passes away, usually you get to this stage, you Sushupti, and then you move on from there. right? And if you're done, your karma is right, and you've washed off or you dissolved your subtle body, then you wake up actually. It's just like tonight, we all go to sleep, and tomorrow morning when we wake up. Whilst we're sleeping, we'll have no consciousness. We don't even know who we are actually. When you wake up, then suddenly we're okay, fine. You know who you are. You know, okay, your wife is sleeping next to you. You know what I need to do next. I need to get up. I need to wash up. I need to do my chanting. I need to do my reading. I've got meetings. So all that starts to happen then. Before that, you're not connected to the body. So that way you're there. So similarly, we wake up in the spiritual world just like this. Can you imagine how beautiful it must be? You just go to sleep and you get to the Susupti stage and you will actually wake up with Krishna. Krishna is there with open arms welcoming you. So that
also,
is...
there is a lot of this topic in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes.
It says the Sushupti stage, though that's a quite mode of ignorance, but still that stage, the spirit gets a lot of rejuvenation because you're not disturbed with the waking stage and dream stage. So
exactly.
Soul get very peaceful at that time.
That's right. The body and the soul both get very, very deep rest at that time. So this is the thing. And then, so beyond these three material existences, there's one more which also Guru Maharaj mentions. Anybody would care to say that? I'm saying beyond material. Sorry, yeah.
Is it Turiya?
Turiya, very good, very good. I tell you, my goodness, we got so many people who are so exalted. My goodness, yes. So pure consciousness. This is Turiya, not the Sabji Turiya, but Turiya meaning pure consciousness. So this is the time that when from Susupti you move to Turiya, you are in the spiritual world. So it's that easy to go back when you think about it. But we have to do our living in the proper way for that to happen to us. So here then, another way of putting it is Jagrat is a conscious state, Swapna is a subconscious state, and Sushupti is the unconscious stage, and Turiya is a super conscious stage. So this is very nice to understand. Okay, we'll move on to the next paragraph, I think. No, one more point from the previous paragraph, where Vasudeva says that when you have one body, you forget the past body, he's saying to Kamsa. So a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam talking about this kind of forgetfulness. Anybody know this? I'll give a clue. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarve ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda veda chaham. 15th chapter, Purushottam Yoga. Krishna is saying, I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So here, Krishna says remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So how do you understand? Yes, Krishna gives us remembrance that we can know. He gives us knowledge, we can understand that. So how does he give us forgetfulness? So one of the forgetfulness, Prabhupada explains in that purport, is this, that when we move from one body to the other, we completely forget of our previous body. Because if we didn't forget, then life would be not possible to live because there will be complete chaos. So that is one kind of forgetfulness that Vasudeva was speaking about here. The other kind of forgetfulness, of course, is that all living entities, we all have been given a certain amount of free will, and by using our free will, we want to forget Krishna. That's also allowed. Krishna says, I'll give you that forgetfulness too. If that's our free will. So we'll move on to the next paragraph. Is Avani with us today?
I'm sorry she isn't, Prabhuji.
Okay, fine. Yeah. We really enjoyed her reading yesterday.
Thank you.
So anyway, so anybody else? I think who was that? Who?
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Can I read?
Yes, Prabhupada Mataji, please.
Thank you, Prabhuji. The nature of the mind is flickering. Sometimes it accepts something and immediately it rejects the same thing. Accepting and rejecting is the process of the mind in contact with the 5 objects of sense gratification. Form, taste, smell, sound, touch. In its speculative way, the mind comes in touch with the object of sense gratification, and when the living entity desires a particular type of body, he gets it. Therefore, the body is an offering by the law of material nature. The living entity accepts a body and comes out again into the material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. Unless we have a particular type of body, we cannot enjoy or suffer. According to our mental proclivities inherited from the previous life, the particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of death.
Thank you, Prabhupada Mataji. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So again, deep philosophy going on here, talking about that how we move, what kind of body and why we can get a certain kind of body. So the 2 things. First of all, it says the nature of the mind is flickering. So again, devotees, Bhagavad Gita verse. Some of these verses will be repeated. The reason I do this purposely because when we refer to certain verses again and again, they will stick in our mind. So as I always mention, that all of us, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, wanted all of us to be preaching at all times. So if we can get familiar with these verses, then it's very easy for us to speak and speak about these verses when there's a discussion going on. So we can preach and please Srila Prabhupada. So Bhagavad Gita verse 6th chapter about the mind flickering.
Chanchala tu mana Krishna.
Haribo 634. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigaham manye vayoriva suduskaram. Arjuna is saying the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So you can see Arjuna himself, who was 1,000 times more powerful than living entities today. Even for him, it was so difficult to control the mind. So for us, where is the hope? You can't control the mind. So just like some yogis try and do, they would sit in a quiet place somewhere and just try and control the mind. The jnanis, they try and do that. The yogis, they try and do that. But actually, it is a futile exercise because maybe for a few moments, you can control your mind. Somebody is very, very powerful. Maybe they can even control it for a few hours or even a few days. But there's a limit to it because in this age, there is no way that we can control the mind permanently. So the idea is that rather than trying to control the mind as an independent exercise, we should engage our mind into spiritual things. And that way, with a higher taste, the mind becomes diverted rather than stopped. We can't stop our mind. The mind keeps doing things. Look at this here, completely going maybe, yes, no. It mind's duty, as Vasudeva says in that paragraph, is to accept and reject. Continuously, we're every day, millions of times, we're making decisions. Do this? No. Yes, no. Yes, no. That's the constant thing that the mind is doing. The mind is deciding so many things. The mind is getting confused. It's getting lost. So this is a constant thing that happens to all of us. We can't stop that. So we need to engage our mind into higher taste. Param dristva nivartate. So when we engage the mind into higher taste, it will then not go on to the lower tastes. The other thing that's mentioned is the body is an offering by the laws of material nature. So again, there's a beautiful verse in the Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 331:1. Palika Mataji, we learned this a few months ago in our Bhagavatam class. Again, very nice verse. I've used it before as well. So nice verse to quote to make certain points. When somebody doesn't believe in reincarnation, then this is what we can quote from Bhagavad Gita. Anybody know this verse? This one actually, Lord Kapila is speaking to Devahuti. Shri Bhagavan refers to Lord Kapila. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmana Daiva Netrena Jantu Deho Papattaye Shriya Pavishta Udaram Pumsoreta Kanashraya. The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. So we are totally, completely in control of what kind of body we get next. Of course, material nature is there to facilitate it, but our actions in this life, or even the previous lives accumulated, they have been recorded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, within our heart. And according to that, the Paramatma instructs material nature to prepare the next body for us. So, directly or indirectly, we are actually facilitating, we are making our next body. So if we do end up in an animal yoni, as a pig or a dog or a cow or an elephant, don't blame anybody else. It is nothing else but us. This is important to remember. We are responsible for creating our future bodies. So, and one more thing. Vasudev says this particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of death. Once again, repeating a verse that we all studied recently, 8.6, anybody? Yam yam vapi swaram bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sada tat bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So we've discussed this many times actually in the last few weeks. And this picture, who is the personality lying down in this picture? Maharaj. You can see exactly. He is thinking about that deer, and then we all know what happened. So I think this is all we can do today, because we will. Okay, one more verse that we'll just finish off with. And this is Lord Rishabha's powerful instructions to his sons. Nunam pramatta gurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya apranoti nasadu manye yata atmanoyam ashan api kleshada asadeha. Rishabdev says, when a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded a material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification by which it perpetually gets material bodies one after the other. So you see, just continuing the last point, we have got this body because we desire sense gratification. And now if you still continue doing that, then we're just going round and round in circles. So it's any intelligent but not befitting an intelligent man. So intelligent person would realize that I'm getting the material bodies because of my sense gratification. I need to replace that sense gratification and use my senses for the service of the Lord. That is the only way out of this world. So any questions from devotees? We will stop now. If there's no questions, that's very good. Everybody's quite with it.
Prabhuji, there is
yeah.
there is one question in the chat.
On chat, okay. Let me just look at the chat. I only see the chat if I stop sharing. So let me just do that. Okay, what does it mean when you get 100% sleep and never wake up? Okay, that is from Varsha Mataji. Varsha Mataji, very nice question. When you get 100% sleep and you never wake up, that means you moved on. Hopefully you moved on to the spiritual world if your life has been perfect and you perfected your spiritual life. But if not, you've actually moved on to your next body. That is the meaning of 100% sleep and never waking up. You do wake up, but in another body.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's put my mind at rest and my heart at rest. I lost my sister in her sleep.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's why I asked that question. Thank
Yes.
you, Prabhuji. You
Thank
have
you,
made
Krishna.
my day today.
Thank you so much. My mother also left just like that. She was sleeping, and in the morning I realized that she's been lying in. Maybe she's tired, so I went to check in the room, and she was sleeping very peacefully, just with her hands like this under her cheek, properly covered up with a duvet, and she was completely peaceful and sleeping. I actually thought, wow, she must be tired because we had a late night previous night, and she's just resting. But then just as I was going to leave the room, I noticed that her fingers had turned blue. And then that gave me the alarm. And when I touched her, she was completely cold. So you can see she went completely peacefully, because if she was struggling because of death, she would have been, the bed would be all over the place, her cover and the duvet would be all over the place. But no, she was just literally in deep sleep, and she went like that. And my mother was a wonderful devotee of Lord Krishna, so we have no doubt where she went.
Yes, she did. She did. When she passed away, her eyes were open, and she had a smile on her face.
There you go. Absolutely, that's a glorious death. Glorious death.
Hare Krishna,
Thank
Prabhu.
you.
There's another example
Yes.
of Ishwari Devidasi.
Oh yes. Yes.
She also left in her sleep, and she left very peacefully.
Exactly. Yes. So a lot of devotee examples like this. Devotees have this kind of deaths where they leave their body very peacefully. Thank you for sharing that, Krishna Mataji. Yes, that is in our recently. No, it was Krishna. Sorry, Krishna Mataji. Yes, sorry. Yeah, I'm not reading the name right. So devotee.
Krishna Prabhuji, I've got a question.
Yes, Krishna Mataji.
That's all right? It may be a silly question, but whenever we think of Krishna giving us forgetfulness, and he gives us forgetfulness so we don't remember our previous lives, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to manage, because we would know what we've done. The thing is, if we don't remember our previous lives, we don't understand what we've done to deserve what we have now. So how will we learn?
So,
like Bharat Maharaj remembered his previous life, so that's why he was able to rectify his mistake and go back to Godhead. I often think this when I hear that verse.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very, very pertinent question, actually, Jayeshi Mataji. So, yes, first of all, we're given this forgetfulness so that there is no chaos in our life. We don't go looking for our previous wives or husbands or fathers and mothers like that. And the second reason is that, yes, you will, although you will forget actually what you have done, but your desires and your conceptions, they do travel in the subtle body with you. And this is why you get your habits, you form habits depending on what you were doing the last time. So if somebody, for example, if he was, just giving a very mundane example, if somebody was a thief in the last life, right? And that's all he did all his life, just stealing. Then when he gets birth now, as a baby, of course, a baby is never going to be a thief. But as that baby grows up, those tendencies will automatically come. And that baby will start stealing little things first, and maybe a pencil from school or pencil from a friend. And then gradually that will become bigger and bigger and bigger. So these tendencies do come with us. That's number one. Okay, so that shows that you are not completely forgetting. The super soul reminds us of our proclivities. Secondly, whilst the super soul reminds us about what we desire to do, and this is why we've got this body again to carry on doing that. But at the same time, the super soul is giving us signals about you should not do this, but do the right thing. Signals are always coming to us. We never hear them. And the signals coming to us, not necessarily always from within the heart, but they're signals, the Lord sends us the signals through some outside messengers. Sometimes you sit in a class and you hear somebody speaking, and suddenly you think, yeah, he's speaking to me. It sounds like something that I need to do, right? So these messages are coming from different places. Something you pick up the Bhagavad Gita, open a page, start reading it. It'll hit you with something that's in your mind. So like this, the signals are coming from so many different ways. The Lord doesn't have to come right in front of us, remind us, and tell us what we need to do. But these invisible, these subtle signals, we can only get the taste for picking these signals up, Mataji, if we are associating with devotees, if we are on the right path, and if we are listening, if our bad dog, as I was saying before, a few weeks ago, good dog, bad dog. If our bad dog is silenced, then the good dog will speak and will bark, and we will be able to manage.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm just, I know probably it's connected with what you just explained, but I just wondered how is an intelligent man is measured in this context, in Krishna consciousness context.
Very good idea. Very good question, sorry. The intelligence, so intelligence, generally speaking, materially speaking, we think somebody is very intelligent if he is very good at studies, or if he's got, double degrees, and he's a very successful business person. Oh yeah, this person is very intelligent. But actually, all that is material intelligence. And yes, we respect that. But a person who's really intelligent will take the spiritual path, will do something for the soul rather than just the body. If there's a very, very smart accountant who's making a lot of money and who's very intelligent in what he does in terms of his accounting practice and all that, that's fine. He's going to make money and he's going to enjoy material life. But what about the soul? What about the next life? So the intelligent person is who realizes, as the verse actually said previously, the intelligent person realizes that this life is not about sense gratification. This life is about reformation, not enjoyment. We need to engage in some tapa, austerities, to satisfy the soul. The soul needs us to perform austerities and become Krishna conscious. Penances and austerities, that is what human life is meant for, not for just enjoying.
Hare Krishna. So you nurture the soul.
Yes.
Exactly, yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Very bold.
Thank you. So before we finish, devotees, so just, I wanted to just remind everybody, we're getting closer and closer. All of you, so many of you have participated in the Bhadra campaign, as well as the campaign for 108 sets for Srila Prabhupada Appearance Day. So thank you all so much. And I just want to remind anybody who hasn't done so yet, please think deeply about it. Most of you, I'm sure, have got Bhagavatam. If you haven't got one, then either inspire somebody else to sponsor one or take one in, or maybe you yourself can sponsor one. There are many ways of doing it. If affordability is a problem, there is a payment over 3 months. That's one option. The other option is to combine with other devotees to share the cost. So many different ways of doing this. Devotees, please do keep thinking about it. I do know that Palika Mataji,
I'm very dedicated to give or spread the message of